One of the things that we see with teams often is that they'll have a great meeting. And at the end, it'll all fall apart because they aren't intentional about identifying the action items, what happened. So they're not maximizing the efficiency of taking time to come together and meet if they're not identifying what decisions they're making and what actions have to happen afterwards. So this is what we're going to explore today is the action items that actually work.
Let's take a look at the first essential. We're going to give you 4 different essentials. The first one is you have to write them down or type them up, depending on your format. What we see so often is teams have good intentions. Team members have good intentions. They think there's no possible way this could ever be forgotten. And then, of course, as soon as they walk out the door, it's forgotten. As soon as you have an action item, write them down. And that leads to number 2. Don't wait until the end of the meeting. The other benefit of writing them down and not waiting until the end is it also provides real clarity on what that action item is. The third essential then is there's 3 parts to this one: who, what, and by when. We is not a who. We is the entire team. So make sure each action item has a specific name attached to it. The what should be crystal clear so that you can say by that deadline, was it done or not done? Sometimes teams get tripped up because they'll say our action item is to get to know each other better or improve trust or try to improve this process. That's all very non-specific. So for the action item, you want it to be specific enough so then when you come back and visit it, you can say, is this done or not done?
And you wouldn't believe how common that is. When you might be listening now being like, well, that seems silly. Jill and I, one of the things we do when we are working with teams and doing Thoughtfully Fit team coaching is observe meetings. And we hear all the time in the meeting, there'll be some kind of a discussion. And then at the end of it, somebody will say, yeah, we really need to look into that. And then they go on to the next one. What does that mean? First of all, we need to look into it. It's like when my, daughters will say, Mom, we really need to sign up for that that trip. Well, what do you got a frog in your pocket? Who's we? Are you doing it or are you asking me to do it? Let's get really specific and direct. In addition, as Jill just said, what does success look like? How will we know if that's done or not done? If we just say we really need to look into that. That is when accountability is low on teams because there is not the specifics of who's taking the lead on that, what's the specific item that they're going to be doing, and when is the deadline of when it has to be done.
The final part of this essential then is the by when. What's the deadline? Is it due by the next time we meet? Do we want to have this done tomorrow? Is this something that we don't want to lose track of, but is a priority for maybe next month or next quarter? By getting really clear on that by when, everybody's on the same page of when it's going to happen. Sometimes action items can end with when we get a chance to. Well, let's be honest. When do you ever have a chance to do something that isn't on a deadline, isn't on the task list? So each of these 3 pieces are important: who, what, and by when.
We were doing this training with a team, and one of the people asked, okay, but what if the action item is something that the due date is 4 months from now? One of the things we talked about is how do you break it down into bite-sized pieces and what are the steps? So if in 4 months, what is success when something's done? What are the steps and the smaller action items that are leading up to that so that you don't then, because unfortunately what happens is you don't, most people are human nature that they are motivated by deadlines. And when you have accountability and deadlines, things are increasingly likely to happen. If you have a deadline that is 4 months away, there's no urgency and there's no momentum. So breaking it down is going to increase the accountability and likelihood of that successfully being accomplished.
The final essential then is to review all of the action items at the end of the meeting. That's something that most teams do. They'll review them at the end of the meeting. The highest performing teams, though, the teams that we see achieving the best results, are the ones who also review those action items at the start of the next meeting. It doesn't need to be a full recap. It doesn't need to be a full sort of diving into the issue again, but at least reviewing those to-dos, those action items at the start of the next meeting or the start of the next conversation to be able to say done or not done. And if it's not done, that's a chance to see, okay, was this the right action item? Is there some additional support that's needed? Is this not the priority that we thought it needed to be? What needs to happen next? And of course, when you get them action items done, some sort of celebration, even if it's just a, hey, good job for getting that done, is always a way to make sure people feel encouraged to get the next action items done again the following week.
So this is your homework to be really specific in your next meeting at identifying and articulating the action items and being specific, and maybe even take a moment to design with your team that you're going to do that, to raise the awareness of the importance of it and also raise the accountability. And if you want support on being able to shift the dynamics in your team to be able to have more actions and accountability, reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you and explore. We do lots of trainings and team coachings on how to create high-performing teams. It would be an honor to connect with you. We thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time.